everybody, it's Angela again today. How are you all doing? Just wanted to welcome everybody, old and new, to my channel. Thank you for joining me today. We are going to be having a look at another episode in how to make a journal. That's what I'm busy with, what I'm going to do today. So I thought we would tackle how to make a cover. I think that's an important step, because once you have your cover done, you then know where you are with page sizes. So that would be your next step, is to decide after the theme and your color scheme and all of those points, what size journal do I want? And there are so many sizes. The one I'm going to do today is traditionally a 6.5 wide. I'm going like that, wide, or that's 16 centimeters by 8 3/4 inches, which is about 22 or 23 centimeters, I think that is. So that's the size I usually make, although there are many sizes. You can adapt this for whatever size you like to make. Right, so the first thing you're going to need, ladies, is some cardboard. So that could be from a cereal box. I don't eat cereal, so I didn't have a cereal box. That could be hair dye box, as I've shown you before. It could be anything. It could be the back of notepads, anything that you have that's cardboard. Now I've just got a piece of a folder. I've cut it already. I'm going to give you the sizes that I'm going to use, and you can do this accordingly. So let's get going. Right, so I've got my ruler here, and the size of the width I'm making this is 22 centimeters, and if I'm going in inches, excuse my ruler, it's 8 3/4. So that is what we're going to do there. I'm going to use this one because it's got both. All right, so that's the size I'm going to make. That fits an A4 comfortably in half into this journal, with a little bit on the edges here. So that's the plan. Then what I've done is, the length of this, it's longer than a ruler. So we have, let me get my pencil. We have got 34 centimeters, if that way. All right, so you've got, what we do is I have put aside 3/4 of an inch for a spine. So I'm going to put one signature in here. It'll be a tubby signature, so that'll be enough. That's what I've done is, I have, after the 6.5 inches, I have then folded a 3/4 of an inch in the middle, and then I have made another 6.5 or 16 centimeters. So what you need to do is, if you're working in centimeters and it's 34 centimeters long, measure 16 centimeters, make a line at 18 centimeters, and again what is left will be another 16 centimeters. So you have 16, 16 and 2 in the middle. If you're doing this in inches, you would have 6.5, or yeah, 6 and, what is that, 6, that's a half, 6 1/4, and then we'll have 3/4 of an inch and 6 1/4 again. So that's how we're going to lay that out. All right, and then, as I said to you earlier, it is 8 3/4 or 22 centimeters. So that's what we have there. So with your marks at these particular points, which is 6 1/4 or 16, go and take a bone folder, which I'm looking for. If you don't have a bone folder, I tell you what's a very good tool to use is the back of a butter knife. Honestly, that is what I had for up until 5 months ago, when I got a bone folder for the first time. Right, so I'm trying to find the bone folder somewhere. Oh, here it is. All right, so bone folder is one of these. And then what you do is, you just need to measure up and then just run that down there, and then again the same down there with your ruler. And that way you're going to be able to fold this nice and evenly, and just make sure that it's well creased. All right, so that's what you do there. As I said, I did used to use the back of a butter knife for ages because I never had one of these. Right, so there we have our piece of paper. This is just like a folder that you would use at work, for, you know, file folder thing. We don't have those. This is a Pendaflex one, I think, but I got this as I was gifted this. So any old hanging folders, those suspension folders, anything that you have that's even just a normal card is fine. So that's what I've used there. Now what I want to do now is I want to cover this. So this will be the inside and this is going to be the outside. And now there are a myriad of things you can use to do this. You can use scrapbook paper, you can use paper that you've printed on. I would choose a piece of paper myself that is slightly thicker. So if you are going to print a digital, make sure you use a decent thickness of paper. I usually use a 160 anyway, so that's double a copier paper's thickness in America. Right, so what I mentioned to you last week is, and I'm a fan of, is wallpaper. Now ladies, you don't have to go and buy wallpaper. I don't know what it's like in America, but I know in the UK, if you go into any of the stores that sell wallpaper, you're allowed to take samples, and it's for free. So I did buy this one, but off eBay. It's a vintage wallpaper. I'm going to use this. I quite like it. It's going to go with what I want to do for this project. But please go and find out if you're allowed to have a sample, and usually you are, and they have sample rolls. So go and have a look and see and get yourself some wallpaper, because the thickness of it is amazing. So this is the inside. I'm going to turn this over, make sure it's the right side up, if it is a right side, so get that bit right. I think this is the side I want to use, so I'm going to turn that over like that, and I'm going to just line that up a little bit like that. So you want to have about 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters around each, bigger than each edge. So that's how we are going to start off. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start and stick down using some glue, one side at a time. So the first side I'm going to start off with is this side here. So just make sure that you've lined this up quite evenly before you start. Yeah. Right, so I just want to see that it's got enough on each side, and then just fold that page back like that, and take some good quality glue. I'm using this 3-in-1, and put that on the paper. Don't go over the edge. Okay, and then what I want you to do is just very slowly make sure before you drop your page flat onto the paper, that you have it in the right place, and then again take your bone folder or any knife or even a ruler and just smooth it out. Okay. Right, so there we have that, and we can turn it over quickly and we can do the same like that. All right, now what we want to do is we want to cover the spine area. So turn it right back, just run your bone folder lightly, or your whatever you're using, just to give it a crease line, and then just put some more of the glue down the spine. Try not go over this score line. Had to think what it was called for a moment. Right, so there we go. And now you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to drop that onto the paper carefully and smooth it out. Do it on the other side. Just do this to keep it as smooth as possible. And then we're going to lift that side. Right, now do the same thing. Run your bone folder just along the edge here, just to give it a score line. Not too hard that you make a hole through the paper. All right, and we're going to do the same to this page over here. And then same thing, drop the paper, smooth it outwards, and then turn it over and same thing. All right, so we're done there. All right, so we just give that a minute to set and stick nicely. Okay. Right, so now what we want to do now is we want to wrap this like a bit of a present. So I'm just going to grab a pair of scissors here above me, and what we want to do is we want to cut the corners slightly away from the point there. So you want to do it at an angle like this, and then you want to just go around like that. Oops, nearly cut my finger. So you want something like that. So if I put it closely, you can see. So that's going to give us a really neat finish over there. Do that on all four corners. So I'll speed that up a bit. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to do a little notch over here as well. So we're going to just cut a little notch down like that, and down like that, and then the top as well. Okay, right, so now what we want to do is you want to take your bone folder and you want to just go along each edge just slightly, not too hard, just to score it, to give it a nice crisp fold. So just do that across all the edges. All right, and now what we want to do is we're going to turn and fold these upwards like that. So let's do that all the way around. So now what we want to do is we want to stick down these pieces down onto our cardboard. So take your glue and stick those down. If you don't want to use glue, you can use double-sided tape, and I'll show you with a part of this how that works, just to give you an option. So you can go like this with the glue. All right, so just use your bone folder now and run that across each one of these areas. Just to make it smooth, make sure it's all stuck down and everything's how it should be. Okay, so let's just turn that over. We should have some lovely crisp corners now. See how nice and crisp those are? Oops, there we go. All right, so there we go. We've got all of that sorted, and that's looking lovely. So now what we'll do is very gently try and bend your page back to make sure that that crease is how it should be. Right, so just do it gently. You don't want to break the paper. And again, this other side along the crease line for the spine. And there we go. So there we've got our spine in place. And we've got our whole cover ready. And it's quite sturdy with this wallpaper, so I really like that. Okay, so there we go. So that's that. Now we will come and put an inside in here, so you'll need another piece of paper. I have chosen to use this that I've hauled out of some very old paper pad I've had from scrapbooking times, and I thought I would use this to go in here, but I'm not going to do it right now because I'm just going to think about if I want to sew a pocket or anything on here. I might not, but I'm gonna do this after I've finished off with the front. So let's just put that aside. Right, so we've got everything here. This is all looking good. One final run over with my bone folder here, just to make sure everything's nice and stuck. And while that is drying, I'm going to ascertain which is the side I'm going to use. So those look like they go up. I think I'm going to use this as the front cover. So I'm going to leave it like that while it's drying. And I'm going to carry on with the other bits that I'm going to do. So I'll just put that to the side, but I'll do that in a minute. Now, what I thought I'd do is I'm going to use an image. So I want to make a basic cover here, and I'm going to put a little image on the front. So the image I'm going to use, I've taken from Calico Collage's Blooming Spring. So that's what I'm going to use, and I've cut this off from one of the pages that I was working with. So I thought that could go nicely on here. And I'm going to just put a few layers of things underneath that. So this is what I would normally do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put some, can't think today, distress ink around the corners here, just because I've torn the edge here. So go and find a picture that you can use to go on the front. You don't have to have a picture. I mean, as beautiful as it is, you could just put a book plate on there, or just a label, or anything you like, or nothing at all. You know, there's nothing wrong with that as it is. But for the purposes of showing you it's giving you some options, then this is an idea for the front. All right, so I've just put a little bit of distress ink on there, so that's looking good. And now what I thought was I wanted to put some fabric underneath here, just to give it a little bit of texture and layer it up a bit. All right, so what I have got is I have taken 2 pieces of fabric. First of all, I've cut some muslin, just bigger than this picture. And I'm also got a piece of fabric. This is actually the right way. It's a scrap of upholstery, beautiful damask fabric, and I'm actually going to use the underside because there's more pink on that. So what I thought I'd do is I tore the muslin, so it's got a bit of a raggedy, tatty edge. Right, so I'm layering this up, and I'm going to lift this up for you to see in a minute, just to sort of give it a frame, if for lack of a better word. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this picture on top of that, like that. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to lift this up quickly if I can get it up. And there you can see the 2 different layers that I've put on. And what I do is I'm going to put a very little bit of glue on there because I'm going to stitch around that. And you don't have to do this, but that's what I'm going to do here. So when we close our book, that's what our cover is going to look like. All right, so let me do that quickly. I just want to move this out the way while it's drying so I don't get glue on that. And I'm going to start with the bottom layer, and I'm just going to put a tiniest amount of glue just to hold it in place. So it's not a lot of glue at all. And then I'm going to carefully just get this one in place evenly as I can around the edges, like that. That's slightly too far over on this side. Right, so it's just there we go. I think that's where I want it. Maybe a bit more over on that side. Right, I think that's where I want it. So I'm just going to try and not move it. And I'm quite happy with that. So that's pretty much in place. Then I'm going to do the same with the picture, just a little amount of glue again. And this 3-in-1 is great for fabric and paper, or any fabric, any paper really. It's just my go-to glue, because you know it's going to stick forever, or pretty much. Alright, so that's that. Let's put the lid on that, and I'm going to now find the right spot for everything here. Okay, so that's what I've done there now. So if you put enough glue on, you don't need to worry about stitching this. I like to just have a stitch around here. I'm going to do a bit of a messy stitch. I'm going to show you in a minute. So we've got some layering here. Now you can pull these off, but once we've stitched, then there won't be that much pulling happening, so it won't be fraying or anything like that once it's stitched. So there we go. Right, so there we have it. I'm going to come back and I'll be back in a sec, and I'm going to stitch all the way around there. Right, so I'll see you in a minute. All right, so there we go. You can see I've stitched that all the way around, and it gives it a bit of a shabby, messy look, but organized chaos I call it. All right, so that will look really nice on there now. Okay, so if I move that over like that, that's how our cover is looking. Now we can I'm gonna stick this on here in a minute, and then we can always come back and titivate with the end, like flowers and things at the end. So what I'll do now is turn this over, and I'm going to glue quite a liberal amount of glue on here, and then stick it down on our cover. So let's do that quickly. I just want to make sure I've got this the right way. There's no real right way with this, so I think that is the right way. So let's do that then. So make sure you go quite close to the top, but not over the fringy bit, the frayed bit. Yeah, so just be mindful of that. You don't want a big gluey knotted frayed mess. So go as close as you can, and then go over the center bit as well. And that's it. If there's anything else that you feel you want me to tell you about while I'm doing this, how to make a journal, any sort of bits that you feel I might not have covered or anything, then please let me know. Right, now before you drop this and make it stick forever, we want to put this down. Now this is where you've got to eyeball it. I'm just lining this up on my mat. You don't want to go too close to the edge, because we are going to put an eyelet there. You can put an eyelet in, or I'll show you a different way if you don't have an eyelet machine, how you can put in your ribbon. Alright, so use your hands for this. This is the best. and just smooth it out, smooth it all out so that it's going to stay where it should be, just like that. Okay, there we go. Pull these off. Right, so that's looking lovely. Now we will come to put on a few other bits and pieces. I mean, you could just put a little label there. We might do that. So, but at the moment, I'm quite happy with everything as it stands at the minute. And this wallpaper is really lovely and robust. So that's awesome. So far, so good. Right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sort out the inside cover. So anything that's sticking up, you want to make sure it is stuck down. Right, I do this because I don't want the paper to break, and you're not going to really see this bit by the time I'm finished, so it just gives a little bit of leverage to the paper there so it doesn't take too much pressure. I'm going to just clean this off quickly because it's doing my head in. Sorry about that. I don't like messy glue. Right, so there we go. So that's clean now, pretty much. Okay, so what we need to do is the inside. Now, we're not going to take the paper and go straight across. I don't want to make unnecessary bulk on these seams over here. So we're going to take it to about here. Pretty much, and we're going to lay something over there anyway. So let's just measure and see. I think what we want to do is cut this in half. I would say 6 inches. So get my bendy ruler. 6 inches is going to take you exactly where you need to be, which is over there just before, which is perfect, you know. So you want 6 inches wide, and we want just short of the top there. We want about, let's say about 8.5 inches, or if it's this way, what is that? That's about 21.5 centimeters, and this way it would be 15. All right, so let's cut the paper quickly. If you've got a paper trimmer, use it. I'm going to use my board. I'm not going to use a paper trimmer. I have one, but I hardly use it. I prefer to use my own way. Sometimes the boards don't always cut it exactly straight. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but this is better for me. Right, so I'm going to say in the middle, so it's 15 I said, I think. Now I can't see my little marks. That's typical. Let's get a better pen, Angela. Let's get something that's, you know, got some black or something where I can see what I'm doing. Let's try this. Right, there's that one. And there is this one. Okay, those are more obvious now. So I've lined that up there. I'm going to line it up here. Guiding it, using the board as a guide as well. And then I'm going to just take my craft knife. You can draw a line and use a scissors. You don't need to have a craft knife, but it's whatever you have. Just make use of whatever you have. I had a laugh because on Facebook today, on the Foxy Crafters group, I saw a lady had put on that the 30th and the 31st of February are no craft supply buying days challenge. And I thought, I had a laugh because obviously there isn't a 30th and the 31st of February, is there, ladies? So that did made me giggle. We are terrible for that. So you've got to make use of what we have, don't we? Right, so what we want to do here is we're going to just measure the length. And I said it was, you can gauge it from your own page. So just want to leave an 1/8 of an inch there or 1/2 centimeter, and the same at the bottom. So I'm just going to eyeball it, and once I've done the one, I can do the other. Yep, so there we go. Oops. Right, so let's move that aside, and we'll just do this quickly. I hope you're picking up some nice tips or anything, you know. I was in two minds about doing this video. I didn't think it would be a good idea, but I'd love your feedback on it, because I mean, I know there are loads of people that do these kind of videos, but I was hoping, because I've had a lot of people ask me about various things, I thought I would just do my version of it. Right, now what we're going to do is we want to line this up so that we have two the same size, and we're just going to take our pencil and run it down there, and then we're going to tap it this way, and we are going to just do that like that. That way you make sure that you have two that are the same, and that's important because you will notice across the journal covers if they aren't. So it's just how I do it. I'm sure there are many ways to do this. So we'll just cut that there like that, and straight across again, and these would always come in handy. And I don't think I could reuse that piece, and you know, I'd give it a good go, but no, I don't think there is a use for that. So let's just make sure those are spot on matching. What can I say? Right, now what we're going to do here is we're going to lay these over here just like that, and I've just noticed that two of my corners right like that. So that's what we're going to do. We'll line that up nicely. But what I've noticed, and I thought I'd just share that, if you've got a corner like this one here where it's just slightly over, you can just take your scissors and notch it off there ever so slightly, just so that it's nice and clean cut. All right, so just check and see any corner that you see that's just slightly over, notch it off. You want clean corners, right? There we go, that's better. Now if I look at it that way, it's perfect. Right, now this is the front. You can just glue these on and not have a worry in the world. And then what we can do is when we come to put a pocket on, we can just glue the pocket on top of there. So I think that's the way I'm going to go. Sometimes I put lace on here and I stitch the lace. So anything you want to have stitched on here, you need to do before you stick it on. You don't have to stitch. You can, like me, I'm going to glue this down. That means anything that goes on there then has to be glued. Otherwise you're going to go right through the cover. So let's do that. Oh, before I do that, what I like to do here is just distress the edges. Just going to give it a nice finish. And I'm not a big fan of distressing, but I do like it on this. Now you don't have to do it on all 4 sides because I'm going to be putting fabric in the middle. So just do it on 3 sides. Right, that's the one. So this, if you've got paper that has a specific direction, make sure that it is going in the correct direction. Right, so we're going to stick this down. I'll show you with some tape what you can do if you've got tape. This is just very thin tape. Make sure you go straight right to the edge. So right to the edge like that. And break it off. Oops. I'm not a fan of tape. I do like my glue. But I thought I would show you how to do it if you use tape. If you're using tape, it is better to get close to the edge. You definitely are certain of that. But I find it fiddly. So you want it on all the sides. Obviously, if you've got a thicker tape, which I do, but I'm too lazy to get up, and I'm recording now, so it's too bad, then use a thicker one. You can put tape on the whole thing. I'm only going to use it for the edges. I'm going to use a combination of both, so otherwise I'll be taping forever. Alright, so this is how you would do it with tape. It's just a personal preference really, isn't it? Right, so you want to take off those. So let's just do that. This is the other bit I'm not a fan of about tape, is trying to find the end. So, right, so there's tape. That'll make sure it sticks really nicely close to the edge. So that is the benefit of it. Let's move that out the way. And then you can I'm going to just glue the middle bit over here. So I don't have to worry about going close to the edge, because the tape is going to hold it really nicely. So don't stick your fingers down, Angela. We've still been having these awful floods. The college where I work has had to close one of the sites, and the roads are a nightmare with traffic, and they blocked off the one the other day. Right, this is where tape is not as forgiving as glue. That's the other thing, of course. So when you stick it down, make sure it's in the right spot, otherwise you'll be battling like I am. So let's just grip this up here quickly. Do it properly. Right, so let's meet the corners first of all. Yeah, meet the corners. Move that up. That's it. And then let it drop. And then get your bone folder and go from the center outwards. There we go, right to the corners. Right to the corners, like that. There we go. That's awesome. Let's give it a nice firm feel there. Yeah, so we've had lots of road closures and lots of places that have been flooded, businesses, houses. Really sad, really. And my heart does go out to them. Students haven't really been turning up for classes either, because the bus terminus is flooded and trains are a problem, so it's been really quite bad. I hope you guys are all right where you are. Right, so there we go, 3 sides as I said, because that side will be covered. So I'll try it with the tape again on this side. I'm not a lover of the tape. And the last one over here. Abby's back to speed, up to no good. Mischievous, running up the stairs, moaning. She does moan. But she's sleeping at my feet there. Heard its name. Bless its little heart. Right, so we want to just take off these quickly. And then, yeah, do take the strips off. If you're doing a combination like I am, with the glue and the tape, as you can see, you need to hold the page before when you're taking the tape off. So in the middle here, so take the tape off before you put the glue on. That'll make it easier for you. Right, now this one becomes a little bit more difficult because we want to sort of line it up with the one we have down already, on the top edges and the bottom edge as far as possible. In theory that should work. I have had it where I've really struggled, even though I've cut them the same. Right, so let's just, before I do that, let's put the lid on good and firm. Right, now hold it on the edges, make sure you've got it on this, you know, the unstained edge is going to go to the center. And now we want to just line up. Let's do it with the bottom really carefully here. So let's do that. That looks pretty good, like that. And then I think, oh my goodness, yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's move that down a bit, like that. Yeah, I think that's about it. It's not perfect. Right, so run your bone folder there on the edge, and then go outwards from the middle, like that, and then just go into the corners, or right on the edge. Make sure it's going to stay there forever. Right along the edge, into the corners, like that. And like I said, you could use a butter knife. I did it for a long time. Right, there we go. So we've got everything nicely lined up now, I hope. I hope. As far as the eyeball can see, it looks like it. Right, now all that remains to be done is I want to put a little bit of fabric into this section here. This is going to be where we attach our signatures, and I just want to put a little bit of fabric in the middle here. So go and see what you have. I've got some muslin. If you've got some canvas or anything, as long as it's a good firm, you know, quite firmly woven, that's the word, we can use it. So all that remains to do now is to measure and make sure. Now you can have a little bit sticking out the top if you want, that'll look pretty, and then do the same at the bottom. So I think I'll just fray this a bit to go with the front, and then just see if that's all right there, and then I'm going to do the same with the bottom. So let's get a pair of scissors that's a bit sharper. So if that's where I'm going to have it over there, then I'm going to have it just a little bit over there, and I'm going to just rip that off and take all these threads off, and then just pull a few more off the edge I've just ripped. Right, you won't believe it, but I keep these and use them. Right, I tell you, I've assimilated the biggest load of rubbish just as well. I've got a whole room to put it in, and it's sort of overflowing out of that room too. All over. Is everybody as sad as me with stuff like that? Keep every last thing. Right, so here, let's just do a little check here. We're going to have a little bit of peeping over both sides, and I think that looks perfect. So what I'm going to do is, when I can grab that last thread, I'm going to stick that down. Now I'm going to stick it with glue. I wouldn't recommend you stick that with double-sided tape, because when you go and sew your signatures in, you're going to take major strain with that to get your needle through there. It's easier to get it through something like this. So let's just we're going to have it, I think what I'm going to do, let's just think. I'm going to sew through the middle there, it won't go on the sides. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some tape on the sides, so that part is the part we're not sewing, but at least it's going to hold it down. So I'm going to put it right on the edge here to the bottom there, like that, and the same on this side, and that way we know it's going to stick right to the edge where we want it to be. Okay, so let's do that. You don't have to use this. If you haven't got, then don't worry, just use your glue and just be accurate, that's all. But it does help when you want to make sure that it's going to go right to the edge. So before we take that off, let's just make sure. Yeah, that's perfect. Right, so let's take that off quickly. Right, so just make that go to the edge. As I said, I'm not a fan of trying to get these papers off. Right, and there we have that. So now we just want to turn this a little bit and do the middle. So just go straight to the top as far as you can, and then you don't want this to be too thick. Otherwise it's going to go right through that material, that fabric that you've just cut. So I am going to use my finger, which is exciting because I get to peel the glue off when it's dry, and I love that. Therapeutic. Right, so we'll just stick that back on there. Okay, now I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to just smooth that over quickly, so there's no globby bits that's going to ooze through the fabric. And then I'm going to take this here and quickly I'm going to just line it up pretty much over there and over there, like that. Right, smooth it with your hands, that's the best way. Right, I think we've got that where we want it. Okay, and just make this. Okay, that way none of the glue's oozing through. Okay, we don't want big glue globules all over the place. Right, I'm not going to worry about that. It is a bit whatever, but by the time we've sewn our signatures in, those stitches are going to hold that in place as well. All right, so there we have our cover done. We've got the center fabric just to give it some sturdiness. We've got our side panels on. We've got our cover over here. So we've got our birds and everything nicely done over there. I don't want to bend this yet because it's drying. And then we've got the front as it is. I'll come back to this and put a few more bits and pieces on there towards the end, and I'm not doing it now because we're going to have this lying flat a lot and we want it as flat as possible, so that's the last thing we'll do. All right, so I don't want to bend this. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this has helped you and given you the courage, if you haven't made a cover before, to go and give it a try. Go gather all those things together and let me know how you go, and I will see you really very soon for the next episode. So thank you everybody. I hope you've enjoyed it. Leave me a message at the bottom if you want me to do something else, or if you have any ideas, I'd most welcome them. Thank you so much. See you all very soon. Bye bye.